I often get asked if I'm an atheist, and no, I'm not. I'm Hyperion, and that means that we understand that we are God. However, of course, we absolutely reject the absurd ideas of the Abrahamic God, blind faith, and random miracles. Now, we're autonomous individuals, self-guided by reason and wisdom. Despite all this, we're often attacked and trolled by atheists, which is kind of crazy. I'm going to clearly demarcate the differences between Hyperions and atheists. Now, no doubt this is going to make atheists livid, but all I ask is that, hey, listen with the same open-mindedness that you wish religious believers had. It's imperative that we see past our differences and unite against our common enemy, the fracture programs of the Abrahamic faiths. Atheism is a broad term, and not everyone that calls themselves an atheist believes the same thing. So in this video, I'm going to be very general and discuss the most common ideas held by a modern-day atheist that would subscribe to scientific materialism. The biggest differences between Hyperions and atheists are regarding how we should come to knowledge about ultimate reality, and the existence of a domain beyond the physical. These two differences have monumental implications. The first has to do with how we come to knowledge about reality. Hyperions are rationalists, while atheists are empiricists. This is a critical point, and it's crucial to understand what this means and what it implies. Rationalism means that knowledge of reality is obtained through logic and reason, whereas empiricism means that knowledge of reality is obtained through the senses. Many people think that atheists give primacy to logic and reason, but that's simply false. Atheistic empiricists consider rationalist methods to be a useful tool, but they always give priority to sense data. Hyperianism is the exact opposite. Hyperions understand that sense data can be a useful tool, but we always give priority to logic, reason, and mathematics. We don't deny the scientific method, it's incredibly powerful. However, we understand that it's only a tool applicable to the physical world of the holos. To understand ultimate reality, the source, we have to use ontological mathematics. Empirical methods don't apply to a non-empirical reality. Empiricists have a very hard time grasping this important point. Ontological mathematics goes above and beyond these methods. Now let's look at an example in quantum mechanics. If you aren't familiar with the double-slit experiment, go watch the first part of the Hyperion movie where I explain it in detail. An atheistic materialist looks at the double-slit experiment and will most likely adopt the Copenhagen Interpretation. The Copenhagen Interpretation is one of the most well-known interpretations of quantum mechanics, and if you've ever watched a video or documentary on quantum mechanics, this is most likely the interpretation that you were told. In an attempt to explain the results of the double-slit experiment, the Copenhagen Interpretation says that an unreal probability wave function collapses into existence upon measurement. Now, if that sounds confusing to you, that's because it doesn't make any sense. It's completely irrational. Remember that materialists don't believe in any kind of existence beyond matter. So when they say unreal, they don't mean mind or some other kind of existence other than the physical. They mean unreal. So their position is that an unreal wave collapses into reality. If this seems hard to grasp, that's because, again, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Remember, unreal doesn't mean non-physical because they don't believe in the non-physical. It simply means unreal, a completely undefined concept. To any rational person, this is obviously crazy, since you can't have something unreal suddenly becoming real. That's a miracle. You might as well say God did it. The reason that they take this position is because they're trying to find a way to explain the experimental results in terms of their materialist paradigm. In other words, they're trying desperately to make the data match their beliefs. Now, a Hyperion, being a rationalist, knows that the Copenhagen Interpretation is absolutely 100% false since it conflicts with logic and reason. We know that it's false, just as we know that the Abrahamic God is false. they're both crazy ideas that conflict with logic. The atheistic materialist can still believe the Copenhagen Interpretation because they're empiricists first, even though it conflicts with logic and reason. Hyperions use the rationalist system of ontological mathematics to explain the double-slit experiment. We don't say that the particle randomly collapses into existence upon measurement from an unreal probability wave. What we say is that the particle follows a wave trajectory. In other words, a particle exists and its motion is that of a wave. This is the solution to wave-particle duality. A particle exists and follows a wave pattern. Our position is similar, but also has critical differences from bohmian mechanics. Our position is 100% in accord with reason and is deducible from the first principles of ontological mathematics. Now, why don't atheists adopt this rational position and instead cling to their irrational position? Because it means that there's an existence beyond the physical. The wave trajectory that the particle follows is its internal mathematical programming. In other words, its mind. It's its mental component. This implies the existence of a mental reality. Because atheistic materialists are so wedded to empiricism, they would rather believe in an unreal wave than a mental wave. For them to adopt such a position, they would have to admit that materialism is false and that a mental reality exists. So instead, they ignore that idea and make up this idea of an unreal wave. In Hyperianism, we refer to the mental reality as the source. It's a realm of living mathematical frequencies, sine and cosine waves. We refer to these mathematical frequencies as inner light. It's a domain of thought. None of this has to do with belief or faith. It's all rationally deducible from our system of ontological mathematics. Atheistic materialism posits that you're nothing but material atoms, and when you die, that's it, and that there's nothing beyond the physical universe, which began when the Big Bang occurred randomly for no reason. This is an illogical position, but it supports their materialist paradigm, which is why they adopt it, even though it's absurd. Hyperianism posits that your body is just an avatar for your true self as an eternal mind called a monad. And a monad is a collection of mathematical sinusoids, inner light. There exists a domain of mind called the source. The Big Bang was the result of the mathematical sinusoids of the source going from symmetry to asymmetry. Reality is now teleologically striving for perfection. Now let's take a look at the effect that Hyperianism has on the individual. For example, if you're a Christian, you believe that God exists, and so you waste your life praising and trying to please God. If you're an atheistic materialist, you believe that reality is purposeless and that when you die, and that's it. You only live once. What effect does Hyperianism have on the individual? It causes the individual to constantly strive to be the best version of themselves that they can possibly be, since this contributes to their evolution as a mind, leading to self and life improvement. They know that they will continue to exist even after death as a mind, and when they work on themselves, they are working on their own internal evolution. Hyperianism cultivates autonomy, free thought, and rational thinking. Since Hyperianism posits that all monads are eternal reflections of each other and the source, it causes people to care about not only themselves as individuals, but the collective of all life, since to irrationally impede another would ultimately to be impeding themselves. It causes them to take an interest in the well-being of the planet and to create a better future, as this leads to the optimization of the universe and creates a better environment for future incarnations. Even if you don't agree with the details of our system, you must agree that the effect that it has on the individual and society is extremely beneficial. Now, let's take a look at some of the commonalities between Hyperianism and atheism. Even though the exact details might be different, we both strive for clear and critical thinking. We both desire for people to be free thinkers. And we both recognize the importance of medicine, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and advancements in general. And we both understand the deadly damage that the Abrahamic religions cause. Obviously, we have major disagreements. But despite that, we understand that atheism is leaps and bounds above the Abrahamic religions, and atheists should recognize the same about Hyperianism. Given that, we should unite against the common scourge of the Abrahamic faiths, even though we have major disagreements. We should be standing against the system that wreaks havoc on the world, destroys the minds of children, subjugates women, and has killed and continues to kill countless people every day. This madness must end. It's time to unite and create a better world. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you enjoy my work, support me on Patreon so I can continue to create. And I'd like to give a big shout out to all my supporters. Let's create that new world. My name is Morgue, and I am Hyperion. Ad Astra, to the stars.